Hey guys, I'm Chef D-Max. Welcome back to the kitchen. St. Paddy's Day coming up, and I got a shepherd's pie here for you. So let's make it. Let's do it. Click subscribe if you're not doing that already. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and ring that bell, and I'll send you new things I have coming up. So see you back in a second with shepherd's pie. Okay guys, shepherd's pie. Very simple. I'm going to show you this. We're going to have fun with it, okay? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some garlic confit. So this is garlic that I've cooked. You can click above here, and if you don't see that, you can go onto my videos and look for garlic confit. It's basically garlic cooked in the oil. And I'm going to take some of that, and I'm going to start that in my pan. So I'm going to put like a nice tablespoon of that, okay? And this stays a long time in the fridge. What I like about that is this will stay 6 months to a year because it's buried in olive oil and it's in the fridge. So it's like sitting there cured and happy, right? So with that, I'm going to put my my garlic all around. Now, because this garlic is already cooked, it doesn't need to sit there and saute the same way that like raw garlic does. So quickly, I'm going to open this meat and get this in here. So I've got some nice ground lamb. Look for a naturally raised product, something that's nice, grass-fed, okay? Some good quality stuff, okay? Wherever you can find in your area. And then I'm going to just put that right in here. So ground lamb. Now, if you don't have ground lamb where you are, you can use ground beef. If you want to make this lean, you could use ground chicken. Okay, so it's really up to you what you put with this. So make it your own. Okay, it's basically this kind of meat cooked with really just onions and garlic, and you can add whatever veg you want. Traditionally, it would be like peas. Spring peas are something you would see in it. You could put you could put spinach in it, chopped spinach. You could just do onions and meat and potato, right? Keep it very simple, right? So with this, I'm just basically letting that meat saute. Now I've got onions here. The onions, I'm gonna just cut those like julienne style, which is in long, thin strips. So I have 2 onions here. I've cut them in half, and I'm just cutting these into long, thin strips like that, right? These little half moons. You can see how I'm doing that. And the reason I do that is because you could dice it if you wanted to, but I like to have a little bit of body with my, with the meat that's in there. So when you're eating it, it's got different textures. And I'm going to put this in with my meat, and I'm going to saute this together, the 2 of them. Now the onions are going to start to release some water, which is really nice, and it's going to all cook together. You can see the brown that's forming on there from the meat and the garlic confit that's in there. If you don't have garlic confit, which you're probably not, unless you follow my videos and you're making that, you're going to just use sliced or chopped garlic in this, or crushed garlic. Probably like 4 cloves, okay? Now, keep pressing the meat together like this, breaking it up, because we're looking for little broken up pieces, right? We're going to just really want to kind of separate the clumps of meat. Now, can you make shepherd's pie with a braised meat instead? You could. You could do a red wine braised meat, like a beef shoulder or something like that. Cook it for a really long time and then break the meat up and build it the same way. Whatever makes you happy. But this is the classic kind of with the ground meat, okay? Now, while that's cooking, I'm going to make kind of my deglazed liquid, which you can use some white wine with it, or you could use like some beer even. You could use a lager. And I'm going to take basically tomatoes and some water, okay? And I'm gonna blend this up, and that's gonna be my stock. So cherry tomatoes and water. Okay, my cherry tomatoes and water, I've pureed those up. And what I wanna do is just let that sit here and getting it ready for us. So when you go to deglaze, you gotta be ready. You can't at that time be doing it, right? Because it's gonna be ready to stop the cooking process and start the rest of the process of braising it together, cooking the meat. Most of this you want it to be cooked, because when we bake this shepherd's pie, it's really not going to cook it at that time. It's just going to heat it up together. So lots of onion in there. You see that? Beautiful onion. Okay. And then that's it. Now, I'm going to continue to cook this nice. Let those onions cook down. Now, while I'm doing that, I like to put a little salt and pepper in there to start it. We'll taste it more towards the end too. But I'm going to put a nice teaspoon of salt and black pepper. Let the water cook out of those onions. Now I want to add a little bit of sweet, kind of Hungarian style paprika. That's just my preference. You don't have to add that. If you have it, great. If you don't, if you want to put a little cayenne for spice, you could do that too. Otherwise, you could just leave it just classic and simple. Okay? It's really up to you. This whole thing is, the process is it doesn't have to be classic. It can be however you want to make it, right? Basically, we're just going to do the meat cooked with some type of aromatic vegetables that are healthy for you. And then we're going to put that in a little dish, and we're going to cover the top of it with some mashed potatoes. And then we're going to go from there. So while this is cooking, okay, let me show you my mashed potatoes. So here I have mashed potatoes. Now, on my thing, I have a recipe for the best mashed potatoes. You could use those leftover, right? But let's say you're just making this, you want to make it quick. You could just take potatoes, peel them, boil them till they're cooked, take them out, smash them with a fork, right? And add a little bit of butter into them. And they're going to be a little bit, they'll be a little bit firmer at that time, but they'll be very nice and the potato will be good. Like for this, a lot of times what I tend to use is a leftover mashed potato. And a lot of times when I'm making mashed potato, I'll make it a couple days before I know I'm going to make this. And then I use that leftover. So if you want to follow my mashed potato recipe, you can do that, and then you can use this as your topper. Now, you can make this recipe, it's going to make just a few pieces, but if you want to double your meat to 2 pounds or 3 pounds and make this in a big dish so you have plenty of leftovers and you can make this for a lot of people, that's great. Now, I've got other components that are going in this. I've got kale, which I've diced up small, like a curly kale. I have a jack cheese, or you can use a white cheddar. That's a white cheddar. Excuse me. Woo! It's that pepper. That's what it is. Let me wash my hands. I'll be right back. Okay, I also have parsley. So let me do this. Let me chop this parsley up. So I take my parsley. I cut my heavy stems off like that. And then I just want to mince this up really good to add this to the top of our shepherd's pie. We can add some at the end, you can add some inside of it, so we have both. So just like this, one directional, really fine, right? I'm going to take a little bit over here for the end product, so for the top, right? And then the rest, I'm just going to add in with my dish when I'm ready, okay? Now, this meat and the onions are starting to saute up nice. They're looking good. At this point, I want to add my paprika. Why didn't I add my paprika earlier? Because it's powdery and it'll tend to want to burn. So I want the meat to cook nice. And then I add a tablespoon of that. Okay. And I cut this in here like this. Now I want that to toast. That's going to toast in here nice, okay? But it won't overcook, okay? See that? But see now, you'll notice how that once it's been coated everywhere, it'll start to want to stick, right? And it'll want to burn. And we don't want it to do that. So that's when we deglaze it. This is the deglazing process. So we put our tomato water. Now, if you don't have cherry tomatoes like that and you want to use tomato paste, you can do that. You can use a tablespoon of tomato paste and, you know, like a quarter cup of water to deglaze, or wine or beer, like I said. And then we're going to cook this down like this. Now, while we're cooking this down, I add in my kale and I add in my parsley because we want those flavors to cook together, okay? Now, if you're going to put peas in this, you could do that as well. You could have English peas in here too, okay? But I think with all this kale, I don't really need it. So I'm just gonna leave it as is, okay? We're just gonna turn this up, and we want this to cook down. And so once it's all wilted down and ready to go, we'll be able to plate this up. And then we're gonna bake it. So let me let this cook for about 4 to 5 minutes, and then we'll be back. It's all cooked down nicely. We're letting it continue to reduce, and I'm gonna show you kind of how we plate this up. So as it's continuing to reduce like that, I'm just gonna take a little bit of my meat. I take like this, and I just press this in about halfway up, right? So I've got my meat nice and juicy in there. It looks beautiful, okay? Then I'm gonna take my potato, and I'm gonna like lay a little, I'll just put the potato in the center like this, a big scoop of that. And then I just wanna gently move it around so it coats this, right? It takes 2 or 3 tablespoons of it, like this. Okay, now I don't want to fill it all the way to the top because I'm going to put some cheese on it too, right? I do want to cover it. I do want to cover the meat up so it simmers in there and get this thing all the way to the edge like that. It's really nice. At this point, I'm going to put some cheese on top, like this. And I'm going to spread this out with my finger. You see how I'm doing that? Just simple. Okay, we want to try to keep it somewhat tight on here. And then, I'm going to show you what this looks like. I'm going to pop this in the oven, and we're going to come back and we're going to take a look at it. So I'll see you back in a second. Okay, just got back from putting this in the oven, letting it broil for a little bit. I turned it on bake 350 for about 10 minutes and then broil for about 5 minutes. You can see how I got a little char on the top, melted the cheese nice. Now these 3, you can see I built those but haven't baked those yet, okay? So you could take them individually like this, wrap them, put them in the freezer and keep them for later, or you can bake them all. But it was just me today, so I just baked the one, and I'll have it later. I finish it with a little bit of parsley on the top like that, and then that's it. I'm gonna try it now. So perfect. You got that meat and the juice from the tomato, all that start bubbling up a little bit around the sides. The cheese, the potato. This is such a warm, hearty feeling. It's no wonder that this is an Irish dish, because Irish people are so friendly and so nice and so warm, and this dish is too, and you're gonna love this. For your St. Paddy's Day, why don't you try making it? Super easy, have fun with it. I'm Chef Team Max. I'll see you back in the kitchen soon.